Expecting summoners? So, in every game you use summoner spells, but are you sure that you choose the right ones? For Summoner's Rift map, there are 10 different summoner spells. The number of spells that are available to a player is determined by their summoner level. Among several game roles, mid laner, top laner, jungler, attack, damage carry and support, 140 champions and a variety of team compositions, it's easy to get confused which particular summoner spells to use in different cases. So in this episode, we shall tell you about summoner spells pros and cons. Every champion is given 2 summoner spells. The most popular is Flash, to which we shall come back a little bit later. For now, let's start with the second summoner spell in addition to Flash. We shall go through all the game roles in turns, starting with the top lane. You might have noticed that in pro games, top laners usually take teleport. There are several reasons for this. First of all, it grants objective control, Drakes and Baron Nashor. Strange as it sounds, in pro games teleport is not taken in order to come back to lane faster, and top laners usually go to their lane on foot. Teleport is a passive advantage. At some point, while you have no teleport or it's on cooldown, an enemy team may group as 4 and take Drake. If your team try to stop them and start a fight, an enemy top laner will join the fight with teleport much faster than you. It's called teleport advantage. After the 20-minute mark, top laner's task is to push bot lane, the furthest lane from Nashor. If you go bot lane without teleport, enemies will simply take Nashor before you make it to the Baron pit. Sometimes, for winning a game, objectives control is more important than lane domination. The second reason why teleport is so popular is that it still does allow for coming back to lane faster if you get ganked and killed at early levels. Without teleport, you may lose too much golden experience, which will prevent you from getting back in the game, and that means you'll be useless till the end of the match. It's especially important if you play carry champions like Fiora or Gangplank, who need a great amount of gold to reach their power spikes. In this case, teleport is a backup. The third reason is ganks by top laner. It's often hard for top laners to kill each other in a 1 vs 1 or even during a gank, so teleport can be used to gank bot lane when enemies are pushing. After killing them, take either turret first blood or Drake or both. Of course, teleport isn't the only option. Sometimes top laners choose Ignite. Ignite is taken by champions who want to dominate their lane from the very first minute. Ignite grants you early duel advantages, especially if your enemy has teleport. However, an advantage isn't a victory yet, you have to turn it into kills. If playing with Ignite you don't manage to take 1 or 2 kills in lane and gain neither gold nor items advantage, in mid-game you'll be weaker as an enemy team will start taking objectives. So if you choose Ignite, you have to play aggressively from the very start. And that's exactly why many champions who play with Unsealed Spellbook rune take Ignite first to win their lane, and then in mid-game they change it to teleport to have objectives control. In Bronze and Silver tier, teams don't pay due attention to objectives and it's hard to implement teleport advantage there. But the higher your rank gets, the more valuable the ability to play with teleport is. Now let's move on to the jungle, where everything is pretty simple. You always need Smite. It helps not only to clear the jungle and restore health at early levels, but also to control objectives, Drake and Nashor. Smite deals a lot of true damage to monsters. If you don't have Smite or it's on cooldown, and an enemy jungler does, they will be able to steal an objective by using Smite at the very last second. Sometimes you can take Ignite or Exhaust instead of Flash, if you play an assassin champion with high mobility like Shaco. In this case, you sacrifice your defense spell for early pressure on lanes and on an enemy jungler, but don't forget that you need to be able to use this advantage. Now let's discuss mid lane. It's going to be a bit more complicated here. There is a variety of champions played on mid lane, from tanks like Galio and farming mages like Veigar to assassins like Katarina. That's why all summoner spells except Smite can be chosen for mid lane champs. We shall analyze the most popular dilemmas. The first and the hardest one is heal or barrier. The majority of pro players choose heal because besides restoring health, it also grants 30% movement speed for 1 second, which may help you to run to your turret faster. Heal restores not only your health, but also a target allied champions. So in a 2 vs 2 skirmish, you can heal both of you. For the same reason, heal is more useful in teamfights than barrier. You can either save your ally or take a better position due to bonus movement speed. Another barrier's disadvantage is that the damage dealt by an enemy may be not enough to penetrate its full capacity, and in some situations an enemy can just wait till barrier ends and deal burst damage after it. This trick doesn't work with heal. Take barrier only against champions who firstly have high burst damage and secondly are focused on solo kills during the laning phase. Amongst such champions there are Syndra, Karthus, Vel'Koz and Veigar. But what about the other summoner spells? Take Exhaust only on champions without escape abilities against assassins like Fizz, Zed, Yasuo or Diana. Ignite is best for assassins and champions with a lane matchup advantage. However, it's not always the case. One shouldn't take Ignite if their abilities range is longer than the Ignite cast range. For example, Ziggs, Vel'Koz, Lux or Orianna don't need Ignite despite their high kill potential during the laning phase. You won't be standing close enough to an enemy to ignite them. Besides, don't take Ignite on melee assassins like Fizz or Talon in hard matchups against ranged champions with strong poke damage. Most likely till level 6 you'll be forced to recall often. In such situations you will lose too much gold and experience without teleport. Cleanse is worth taking against either mid laners with hard crowd control, for example Lissandra, Twisted Fate, Ryze, Galio, or junglers with hard crowd control like Fiddlesticks, Sejuani, Amumu, etc. Take teleport on champions who are focused on farming rather than trading with an enemy mid laner in the early game. Those are Veigar, Ziggs, Galio, Corki and others. Teleport is also useful in hard matchups when you have to go back at levels 3 to 5 due to strong harass. Among such weak early game champions are Anivia, Fizz, Diana, Akali and LeBlanc. Same as on top lane, there are champions on mid lane who can play with Unsealed Spellbook rune. It allows you to change summoner spells during the game. For example, on Malzahar it's better to take heal plus flash at the start and then swap heal for teleport. At level 1 you don't need teleport and you can always switch to it at the fountain, but you might need heal in case of an enemy gank. Then at about minute 15 swap teleport for Ghost, which is good for teamfights. Bot lane has its own peculiarities. On the one hand, choosing summoner spells for bot is easier than for mid lane, but on the other hand, there are two champions on bot lane, ADC and support, who spend a lot of time together. Both have their own spells that at the same time depend on each other. AD carries always take heal, as firstly it restores health for both ADC and support, and secondly grants 1 second speed boost which allows them to escape ganks or compensate for positioning failures in teamfights. Heal has completely replaced all the other summoner spells on bot lane. Barrier can be easily countered by simply switching targets. Ignite and Exhaust are usually difficult to cast, as marksmen have longer attack range than these spells do. Cleanse and Teleport, despite all their advantages, grant less kill potential in lane. With these spells, you'll have to hug the turret, as an enemy with heal will be trying to force a fight that you most certainly will lose. Supports usually choose Exhaust or Ignite, again for a high kill potential in lane, but which particular spell do we need? If you play an aggro champion like Bard or Thresh, you should take Ignite for additional lane pressure. However, if you are matched against a strong hypercarry in top lane, let's say Jax, or an assassin in mid lane, like Fizz or LeBlanc, you can sacrifice early game domination for additional defense for your ADC in the late game. If you play a utility support, it's better to take Exhaust. You won't be able to play aggressively in lane anyway and will mostly get initiated on. And in such situations, Exhaust is more useful than Ignite, and especially in the late game. But then again, every rule has an exception. If there are champions with strong self-heal in an enemy team, like Dr. Mundo or Vladimir, you should take Ignite to reduce their self-healing effects in teamfights. Now, of course, these rules are not carved in stone. In the middle of Season 7, the combo support with heal plus ADC with barrier was popular on bot lane. It was relevant during the Ardent Sansa meta, when there were only utility supports with low kill potential on bot. As there were almost no fights in this lane, heal was substituted by barrier, which was more useful in teamfights. Okay, finally, let's explain why Flash is the most popular summoner spell. Why is the spell with the highest cooldown taken on almost every champion? First of all, as in the case with Teleport, Flash grants you a passive advantage in lane. It helps you against jungler ganks. When your flash is on cooldown, you become an easy prey for a jungler who can flash, land crowd control and kill you. That's why high elo players always keep track of an enemy's flash cooldown, and while it's on cooldown, they call their jungler for help. Besides, in cases of bad positioning in teamfights, flash may be your backup. If you make a mistake or get ambushed, flash is your only chance to survive. Without flash, you have to play more carefully, sometimes sacrificing damage for safe positioning. However, if you play champions who become much stronger due to movement speed boost like Hecarim or Olaf, you can take Ghost instead of Flash. But even on these champions, except for Hecarim perhaps, Ghost is taken very rarely since there are Relentless Hunter rune and Righteous Glory item, which compensate for the shortfall in movement speed. Flash makes a good combo with the above mentioned bonuses, and they are enough to initiate a teamfight or to catch up with an enemy during a gank. Talking about solo lanes, Ghost can be also taken on Singed. With this spell, he becomes a greater threat for enemies than with Flash. He's hard to catch even without Ghost, and with Ghost it's just unreal to get him. But even in this case, first thing you have to pay attention to is an enemy team setup. If you play against Jarvan or Yorick, who can block your movement, you don't need movement speed while Flash can save your life. On the whole, Flash is more useful than Ghost against any crowd control. As for mid lane champions, Ghost is worth taking only if you have Unsealed Spellbook rune. This spell may be very useful in teamfights if you play champs with no escape abilities, leap, dash, blink, etc. like Victor or Taliyah. That's it guys, I hope after watching this video choosing the right summoner spells for your champions will be much easier. Always consider your matchup and team setups. Thanks for watching and good luck in your solo queue.